So when a user wants to upload something in our chat here, what we can do is when we click this attach icon, we want a model to appear similar to this model here where we have all of the contacts, and we have already created a reusable model. So what we now need to do is when we click here, open a new model, and then in there we want to upload a file to Firestore storage. So let's go ahead and configure that first of all. So in our cloud Firestore, we have our chats and our users collections, so that's working fine. If we go into the build drop down in here, we have this one, which is storage, which we need to set up. So all we do is click get started in here, and we just want to start in test mode for now. And then we've already selected our location, so all we do is click done. So now that is creating a default bucket for us. So this is where we can store all of our storage files. So in our case, we will have only images that we want to upload in this chat. So whilst that's being set up, what I want to do is go into our application in here, and then where we have the sidebar header in the common components in here, click sidebar header and index in there. We are rendering an app model component, so I'm just going to copy this, and where we want to access the files is in the attach icon here. So what we want to do is go into the message input component, which is in the main screen section, and where we have the attach file icon, what I want to do is paste in the app model component, and instead of the chat outline icon, we just want the attach file icon in here, and we just need to import the app model component as well. And what I want to change the title is to upload image, and then the model type is going to be either of type chat, or if we go into icon model type, so if we go into the app model icon model type, and then that could be either upload or chat. So we want to have the type as upload, because then what will happen is that will render a different component. So in app model now, if I open this up and we scroll down, we have a function that handles the model children. So if we go into this function, and then if the case of model type is upload, it will render the upload model. So let's go into the upload model now. And here you can see it says this is the upload model. So now all I need to do is save all. And if I go back into my browser, we have the chat model, which handles the contacts in here. But now we have the upload model, which handles the upload image. This is the upload model. And we have duplicated the icon. So let's remove the other icon in message input, which is this one. So now if I save, I don't need the message input anymore. So I can close this one down, and I can also close this helper down as well, because we are rendering this is the upload model, and this is what we need to focus on for now. So we need to configure some UI in here, but essentially what we are going to be using is Material UI to render the items in here. But first of all, what we want to have is a piece of state. So piece of state is essentially the file that we want. So const file and set file, which is equal to use state, and it's null initially. So the file is going to be of type file, which is essentially a file type that we have coming from JavaScript. And then we want an outer div. So the outer div will have a class name, and in this outer div we will have a margin top of 4. It will be flex, and then flex of column. So display flex, flex direction column, and a gap or 2 between the items. Then we want an inner div, and this div will have a class name also. And in this class name, we will have display of flex once again, items of center, and then we also want a gap of 2 in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to render a Material UI button. So in this div, we have the button coming from Material UI, like so. And in this button, we're going to have the text of upload. And now if I save, we just need to check the model, and I'm going to delete this as well. So now when I click on here, we have a model appear here saying upload. So what I want to do, when I click here, I want the upload model to appear. So let's configure that now. What I also want to do is add a submit button in as well. So I'm just going to copy this, paste this underneath, but the variant this time is going to be contained, and this time it will be submit. So this button is an upload and this one is a submit. So with the upload, essentially what we are doing is we're going to set the file to whatever we upload as the image, and then the button is going to submit this information to the Firestore storage. So if I save this, the first thing I want to do in the button is have an input inside, and this input is going to be of type file. and this input is going to be hidden. So you can have an option of hidden on the input, and it will accept any type of image. So image slash, and then you put an asterisk or star at the end. And I'm going to put in multiple, so you can have the option, and that should be fine. What we also need to do is update the state. So this is the state we have here. We need to update the state when the input changes. So when it accepts an image. So after multiple, what I want to do is have an on change event in here. And this is going to be an event. So first of all, we're going to have the E, which is the event. And in the event, we're going to do a few checks in here. First one is going to be a guard clause. So if there is e.target.files is equal to null. So if e.target.files is triple equal to null, then we just want to return. Otherwise, what I want to do is set the file to e.target.files, and we want the first index in here like so. So initially the file is null. When we upload an image, then it will on change, and then we will set the file to whatever it is in e.target.files of the first index. So now let me just save that so it formats it a little bit better. That is the upload section complete. What I also want to do is after the button is render some UI. So the UI is going to be if file is not equal to null, and that is true, then I want to show a span. And in that span, I want to get access to the file.name. So this is the name of the file that I am uploading. That's the first thing I want to do. And then I want to add a close icon as well underneath, which essentially is icon coming from Material UI. So I'm just going to implement that at the top. So therefore, we need to have this component as a use client now. So the close icon is being imported in, and this is now a React fragment. We need to put this in because we have two children. We can only have one. So essentially, this close icon has some styling to it. But when we click on it, it sets the file back to null. And then we need to handle the else statement, which is otherwise return null. So now if I save, I want to check what the model shows. And I also want to console what the file is. So let me console log file just to see if we are updating everything and if the functionality we have implemented here is correct. So now we have file as null. So when I click upload, just do this React one, press open. So now we have a file being added to the state of file, as you can see here, and we are setting the name as the file.name. If I press close, what happens is it sets it back to null. So that is all working correctly. Now what we need to do is when we press submit, we need to send this information to our Firestore storage over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do with this button here is I'm going to set it to disabled if the file is equal to null. So we can't submit anything if the file is equal to null, and that is the file state is equal to null. And then I also want to have an on click on this button, which essentially handles the submitting of the information and the storage. So in here, we're going to have a callback, and I'm going to pass in a function called handle upload. So we need to create this function now. So this function, I'm going to handle this in a storage file. So that is going to be in the lib folder in Firebase. So let's create that now. But first, what I'm going to do is pass in a few arguments in here that we will need for this handle upload, which is the params.id, the set file, which is the setter here, because we need to reset it back to null again. We want the handle close because we want to close the model. And we also need the file because when we submit something, we need the file information, and then also the URL, so the params ID. So at the top here, we need to get access to the params again. So const params is equal to use params, and we need to import that in as well. So now what I need to do is in Firebase, I'm going to create all of my storage helpers. So I'm going to create a new file in here called storage.ts. And in here, I'm going to create the function. So it's export const handle upload, which essentially is a async function. And then we have our arguments, and I've already predefined the type. So just paste them in here and save. So essentially we get params ID, which is a string, set file, which is a dispatch set state action of file or null, handle close, which closes the model, and then file, which is equal to file or null. So in here now, what I'm going to do is, because it's an async function, I'm going to do a try catch block. So try, and then after here, we want to do a catch. And then also we want to do a finally, because this finally block will happen every time, no matter what the outcome. So we want to do that. And first of all, what we want to do is finally we want to set file to null and handle close always. So that's very important. What I also want to do in my try block is do a few console logs. So first one is uploading, got it here. Second one I want to do is console log the file because I want to know if the file is coming through. Third one, I don't need to do a console log, but I need to do some defensive programming, which means we do a guard close. So if there's no file, then we want to return, so don't do anything. Otherwise, we want to do await upload image, which takes in two arguments, which is the file and also the params ID. So I need to create this function now, which is essentially handling the upload of the image. So that section is complete, and then all we need to do is for the catch handle the error. So console.error of error message like so. So just before the handle upload, I'm going to create a new function. So export const upload image, and this is where we need to take in the file and the params ID, and this function is essentially handling the image upload in each single step. So the first step, what we want to do is we want to format a date for the image name. So let's create that. So const formatted date is equal to the format date, which is the function that I created earlier using TypeScript overload of new date. So we've got the formatted date, and then we want to get the file name, so the name as it appears on the storage bucket. So const file name is equal to, and I'm just going to bring in the name that I want to call it as. So essentially, it's going to be the params ID / the formatted date here .jpeg, or you could call it .png or whatever you wish. Then I'm going to console log the file name. Essentially, the file name is a pointer to the file in the storage bucket in the cloud, and it's also lightweight as well. It says it in the Firebase docs. So that is that step done. Now we need to have the storage ref, so get reference to the storage ref. So const storage ref is equal to ref, which essentially is from Firebase v9, and inside we have the storage and the file name. So the storage we need to define now. So let's go ahead in our index file in Firebase here, and we want to do const storage is equal to get storage. So now we have synced that part up. We need to import this get storage now from Firebase storage. So I'll just import this at the top. And then all I need to do is export this. So this is the benefit of using Firebase, is you can add and replace functionality wherever you want. And then you have a central point where you can use the enhancements or services or whatever it is you need. So in here now, all I need to do is import storage from the index file. And I also need to import ref from Firebase storage. So now we have access to the storage ref. I can also console log the storage ref if I need to. But what I now need to do is upload the file to the storage bucket. So I'm just going to add that in as a comment. And now all I need to do is await upload bytes, which comes from Firebase storage, passing in the storage ref and also the file, which is coming from here. And then once that is done, we can then chain a dot then onto this upload bytes with a snapshot. And then we can also console log whatever we've uploaded. So uploaded a global file with the snapshot. And then finally, what I also want to do is just simply return the file name if I need it for anything. So that's that section complete. And then now this upload image function is handled up here, which essentially handles all of the functionality for the uploading of the image. So if I go back into upload modal and I need to do control space and import this in, that is the upload of the image complete. So now what we need to do is test this out to see if it uploads into the storage bucket. So in our application, again, what I'm going to do is upload an image. So upload, then we can select our image that we want and press open. It's saying the name that I need in here. And then now what I want to do is press submit. But first of all, when I press it, all of the console logs that we have made, they should log out here in the console. So if I press submit, as you can see, we have logged the console saying uploading started, the file that we are uploading. We've got the file name now. And then finally, we've successfully uploaded the global file. And this is the metadata which is being sent to the storage bucket in Firestore storage. And as you can see here, we have a full path of the image we have in here. So now all we need to do is verify that it worked. So if I go into my cloud Firestore, and in here, we should see an image populate. So if I go into rules and then back into files, as you can see, this document has been created for the storage reference, which is essentially ending in CB. So this is relevant to this chat in here. This is where I've added it. So all I now need to do is if I click into it and I click on the image has now been uploaded and we have all the metadata in here. So what I'm going to do next is fetch this image or all of the images in the application and then render them on the client side onto our chat component in here.